So let's just have a look where we are at the present time. We're in 2009, 2010. We have a basic rate of income tax of 20% and we have a high rate of 40%. And the personal allowance is 6,475 and you pay basic rate tax on the up to £37,400. So that's where we are at the present time. Let's just look at the changes that are coming in next year from 2010-11. As introduced at the previous budget, there's going to be a new 50% tax rate on income above £150,000. Now, if you have employees or if you are earning income just above £150,000 or around that mark, this needs to be looked at very carefully because there are ways in which you can reduce your income for this purpose. But that needs to be looked at very, very carefully. He's also introducing a new 42.5% tax rate on dividend income. Again, it's where it's the top slice where income is above £150,000. And what this means is that if you receive a net dividend, then at the moment you'll pay tax on that net dividend equal to 25%. From next year, you will pay tax on that same dividend at a rate of 36.111%. So it's quite an increase in tax on dividends. Similarly, trusts and the trust rate of tax is increasing to the 15 to 42.5%. And there's also going to be a loss of personal allowances for anybody who is earning above £100,000 per annum. And the rate of loss is £1 of allowance for every £2 of income you earn over £100,000. And this has quite an effect on the rates of tax. Because these are the rates from next year. Up to your personal allowance, you won't pay any tax. If your total income is less than £43,875, then you'll pay 20% on the majority of that. But if we look down, once we get to £100,000, we have a 60% tax rate. And the reason for that is that in that band, from £100,000 to £112,950, not only are you taxed at 40%, but you are losing half of your allowance, which gives an effective marginal rate of tax of 60%. That's quite a high tax rate for somebody earning £100,000. And so if you have, again, employees or if you are in that kind of band, then this needs to be looked at very carefully. If we look at an example of that, if you have an employee who earns £100,000 and you award him a £10,000 bonus, then after tax and national insurance contributions, he's going to receive £3,900 of that £10,000 bonus. What does a taxman get? Well, he gets £6,000 in tax, he gets £100 in employees' NIC, he gets £1,280 in employers' NIC, giving the taxman £7,380. So at that marginal 60% rate, your employee gets £3,900 and the taxman gets £7,380. So again, this is something to look at if you have employees in that or around that marginal rate of tax. And just looking at how the increase in tax rates for 2010-11 affects net income, then this is the table comparing this year with next year. As you can see, somebody earning £100,000, there'll be no change because the personal allowances are staying the same, the rates are staying the same at that level of earnings. However, for somebody earning £150,000, then they are going to pay £2,590 extra tax and NIC on their income. And for somebody earning £200,000, they're going to pay an extra £7,590 on their income. That's a 3% increase in tax on that £200,000. So it's quite a reasonable rate of increase of tax. I mentioned earlier that one of the introductions in this pre-budget report is an increase in national insurance contributions. Now, these national insurance contributions are going to be increased from 2011-2012, so we've got a little way to go before they actually come into force. However, why 2011, 2012? Well, if you look at the summary of the pre-budget report, this is when the Chancellor expects the economy to be growing significantly at over 3.5%. And so the theory is that as the economy is growing, companies and individuals can afford to pay more national insurance contributions, and that will help to alleviate the £178 million of debt that we find ourselves in. So what's happening in that year? Well, it was previously announced at the budget that rates will go up by 0.5% from 2011-2012. He's announced yesterday that rates will go up by a further 0.5% from 2011-2012, which means they go up by 1%. A little bit of window dressing by the Chancellor there, but I think we can all work out that 2 times 0.5 equals 1%. So the effect on all rates are that from 2011-2012 onwards, the Class 1 employee contributions will rise to 12%. The employer contributions will go up to 13.8%. The Class 4 contributions to 9%, and the additional Class 1 and Class 4 contributions that you pay over and above the upper earnings limit rise to 2% from its present 1%. And that's expected to result in a significant increase in NIC take to the Exchequer. The Chancellor also said that the budget was a budget to preserve jobs, and I wonder how an increase in NIC actually preserves jobs. But I'm sure the Chancellor will inform us in due course, if he's still around, of course. One of the big questions for owner-managed businesses is how do we take our remuneration, our monies out of the company? And there's been this question for a number of years: should shareholders take salary as their directors, or should they take dividends? The answer is that take dividends. Even with the changes, in fact even more so with the changes, especially the NIC changes, dividends are best in all cases. And so certainly for the coming 2 years, unless something happens either in the budget that we're not expecting or in a post-election budget, then dividends are best. And so the planning has to be for director shareholders is to take salary up to the national insurance limit, which will entitle you to the state pension, and then take dividends to top up the salary. And that's the most tax efficient way of remunerating yourselves. I'm just going to turn now to corporation tax rates. The small companies rate, it was supposed to go up this year to 22%, and then it was supposed to go up next year to 22%. Well, it's been further deferred. We don't know when it will increase, if it's going to increase at all. And so the small companies rate is staying at 21%, which is good news for the smaller companies. And there's been no change to larger companies' rates, so all of the rates stay the same. And the corporation tax rates compare very favourably with income tax rates. So if there is a mechanism whereby you can retain profits for income purposes in the company, but extract funds in other ways, then that is something that we should look at, and I'll return to that later.